What's up, guys? It's Nick. Today we're going to cover some multi-way pot concepts, but before we get into that, I want to announce that I'm releasing my second tournament course for Upswing. It's coming out in a few weeks. It's called High Stakes MTT Sessions, and basically it's me going over sessions that I recorded over the last few months of me playing anywhere from 1Ks to 25Ks online during Scoop and during a few months before that, playing 5Ks and 10Ks on Poker OK. So there's a lot of good content in it. There's a few big deep runs. I got 8th in the 10K Scoop main. I had a few other six-figure scores and a lot of final table and bubble play on Poker OK in high stakes tournaments. So I think it's a really cool format and I learned a lot from going over it. It's one of the main ways that I study. So you guys kind of get some insight into my sessions, nothing hidden, nothing held back, and my review and commentary on them. And the other section of the new course is I took that database, I filtered through for blind versus blind post flop, multi-way pots, river decisions, and ICM and bubble play, and I divided it some play and explain hands into those categories. So there's some themed play and explain where we just bang out a bunch of multi-way pots in a row or a bunch of blind versus blind. So today we're going to go over a multi-way pot, and it'll give you a little indication of what the new course is all about. So we've got Queen 9 off in the big blind and facing an under the gun 8. Min raise from a 38 blind stack. And right off the bat, just to go over the ranges quickly, that's the first step in building our multi-way analysis is this guy's going to be super tight, opening like less than 20%, probably 18. And when that tight range gets flatted by the cutoff, that's even tighter. And it's a mix of a bunch of different hands, but the hands we want to pay the most attention to are the ones that always get called in this spot. So he's going to have a really wide, diverse range of mixed strategy with a bunch of different hands. But the ones that he never three bets are going to be his 2s through pretty much 9s, and a lot of his suited broadways. Maybe some of the suited broadways get a little sliver of three betting, but for the most part, we're dealing with a range that is a bunch of pairs, a bunch of suited aces, a bunch of suited broadways, and not really too much offsuit stuff. I mean, king queen off can call, ace jack off, ace queen off, and ace king off can call, but other than that, he's really suited. Even stuff like 6-7 suited is kind of weak to call here, so he'll probably just have the really good suited stuff in pairs, and his suited connectors are going to look like 8-9 suited, 9-10 suited. And then once he gets to us in the big blind, versus the min raise, we get to do a bunch of calling, a bunch more than if it was like a 2.5x or so. So this hand is fine for the min raise. For the bigger size, I'd just ditch it. And I think even if against the min raise, I want to fold the offsuit 8s, so like jack 8 off, I'm just going to pitch that. But this one's fine. It's right on the borderline there. And I'm going to have all those like 1 gap, 5-3 off, 6-4 off types. And I'm going to have all the suited hands until I get up to like a king jack, queen jack suited, where I might consider jamming at this depth and calling, king queen suited, stuff like that. And then 3 betting to get in like 10s plus, probably 9s too. And ace queen suited, ace queen off. So let's just get to the flop here. We've got second pair, backdoor flush draw with the queen. Checks to the initial raiser. Here's where we start thinking about the hand differently because it's multi-way, right? In this spot, when a tight range gets flatted by a tight range, since he is so tight pre-flop, and does connect with this board so well with a lot of his air, like his king queen off with a spade, or even something like his king queen suited of all suits, of course his queen jack. Like he's got a bunch of equity with those hands. His weakest offsuit opens, like his king jack off, and he doesn't really want to put money in with weaker c bets than that. So it's going to end up with him checking a bunch, and that means that he's going to be slow playing his overpairs quite a bit. I don't think he's going to slow play stuff like 9-10 suited or sixes too often or straights. The straights are really great for him to start getting money in right away when he has 7-8 suited, of course, for obvious reasons, not blocking any continues. But in general, the point is he's super tight. That means multi-way, he does get to do a lot of betting, but in a multi-way situation, a lot of betting is still not very much. It's still going to be just like a third of the time or so. And his bluffs are going to come from the offsuit hands with a spade and his like king queens and stuff. And his value is going to bet sometimes, his overpairs are going to bet sometimes, but a lot of times they're going to check and go for the check raise or have it go check. And, if it goes check, bet, call, he might just have a jam spot. So we want to be cautious of this check right off the bat. He checks. Having said that, in position still will get to bet a lot just because their range is so concentrated on pairs, and they make a set with a bunch of the pairs that they flat at almost full frequency. Tens gets a little 3-betting, but still, he has it a bunch. He's got some hands he likes to bluff with, like 6-7 suited, 8-9 suited, less so 8-9 suited than 6-7, and then some 10x that he wants to bet for value and protection. All those suited tens he didn't 3-bet. He doesn't have any offsuit tens, so he has the suited nines that he didn't 3-bet, and he wants to put little value and protection bets in with those. So he does put out the small bet, and that can be anything from his own offsuit hands that he likes to use to bluff with a spade. So his king queen, ace jack, ace queen, his whatever, however often he has ace king pre-flop, he'll use that to bluff a little bit too when he has a spade. And my range, since I'm stuck between these two really tight ranges, and both of them can have a bunch of strong hands, I don't want to play check raises here. I think I just call my strong hands. I call my strong draws. Leave myself some options later on in the hand. When I don't check raise, that means I get to lead some. I get to do some bluffing later on with a bunch of my hands. I never fold a pair here, so I still get to turns relatively wide and need to be careful. But in general, I want to just play calls here because raising with this tight, strong range that does check a lot of strong hands behind me is pretty scary for me and pretty expensive. So I make the call. Initial raiser folds. We're now to the turn, and in position gets a really good turn for his range. It doesn't complete any of my straights. If he had a good equity lock on me on the flop, not much changed. I have some suited combos that made 2-pair with a 4, but that's not a big concern. And he'll just use the big size here because he wants to start forcing folds from my worst draws, from my 9x, 6x. Get money in with maybe his like ace 10 that's pretty vulnerable, but he will mix checks with ace 10, king 10, queen 10, jack 10 suited, of course. So when he checks the turn here, as he does, we're thinking he's got a lot of, king, queen, king, jack give ups, which he should be giving up a good frequency. Then he's got a lot of king 9 suited, queen 9 suited, jack 9 suited that bet for value and protection on the flop and are now not putting any more money in. Same thing for the 10x. We don't expect him to have any monsters, really. Queen Jack will have a pretty heavy check back frequency except for the Queen Jack of spades. So my spade blocker, actually, now that the non-spade Queen Jack make the nuts, is worse than if I had a Queen 10 or Queen Jack of diamonds type, because he'll bet the spades more often on the turn. So when he checks the turn, I think I'd rather have a non-spade. But in any case, we do check to him again. I don't think we want to block bet our 9x. I do think we would want to block bet a lot of our 10x. And when we check to him, we face this small river bet. And I think we want to use my, we want to have the 9 blocker. We want to have the queen jack blocker. Like I said, the spade is probably worse. But I think we want to pull our bluffs here from like queen 9, jack 9, and use them at a pretty high frequency for our check shove. And I think what we're accomplishing here is he's going to have king jack, king queen, and ace king on this line, a really reasonable amount. And the king jack is suited, but ace king and king queen are offsuit. So when we're talking about such a tight range, they will get there a lot, and he will play them this way. So I think we target those hands. They have to fold a bunch when we check jam, and I like having a 9 blocker for the king 9 suited blocker, and also just like our queen and jack blocker to block the queen jack straight, and also for matching purposes. So yeah, I'm gonna go for it here with the check shove. I do get called and showered by that non-spade combo of queen jack, so that happens, but we went for it, and I think we like the line. And so that's a little idea of what you can find in the course. Most of it is play and explain style of a bunch of different tables, not just going over single hands. But next week we will do another strategy video on blind versus blind, and then following that we will reveal some footage of the actual course that will be released in a few weeks. So keep your eyes open for videos coming out every week. Thanks a lot, guys. It's been a pleasure.